The morning sun cast a crimson glow over the rocky Martian landscape as Cadet Kim Sung-ho zipped up his training uniform. Through the reinforced windows of the barracks, he could see the sprawling campus of the Pan-Solar Military Academy. 5. Years ago, he'd only dreamed of standing where he was now. Growing up in the outer colonies, he'd watched the recruitment vids with wide eyes, imagining himself defending humanity among the stars. "Final checks in 15 minutes, announced the automated system overhead. Around him, 30 other cadets prepared their gear with practiced efficiency. Some chatted quietly, while others remained silent, mentally reviewing protocols. Kim's roommate, Cadet Lee Jun-woo, was meticulously organizing his field pack for the third time. "Nervous?" Kim asked, securing his boots. Lee shrugged. "Just thorough. You remember what happened to Cadet Yoon last year?" Everyone remembered. Yoon had forgotten his emergency beacon and gotten separated during the night exercise. It took the search team 6 hours to find him. Commander Park had made an example of him for weeks. The barracks door slid open with a soft hiss, and conversation instantly died. Commander Park Ji-eun entered, her posture perfect, her uniform immaculate. Behind her walked 3 tall, blue-skinned figures that made even the bravest cadets straighten their backs a little more. "Attention," called out Squad Leader Bay. The Zalarians stood nearly 7 feet tall, with 4 eyes arranged vertically down elongated faces. Their military uniforms featured intricate metal plates that seemed to shift colors under the artificial lighting. The one in the center wore additional insignia that marked him as high-ranking. "At ease," Commander Park said. "Cadets, these are our guests from the Zalarian Defense Force. They'll be observing today's training exercise as part of our cultural exchange program under the new peace treaty." The lead Zalarian stepped forward. "I am Colonel Durr," he said, his translator rendering his clicking speech into smooth standard English. "We are interested in human military training methods." Kim noticed something in the alien's tone, a subtle dismissiveness that made his skin prickle. The peace treaty with the Zalarians was barely 6 months old, signed after decades of tense standoffs and minor skirmishes near disputed space. His own parents had lost their cargo ship in one such incident 10 years ago. Commander Park continued, "This year's field exercise will follow standard protocols. A capture-the-flag scenario with simulated combat conditions on Deimos training ground. You've all studied the terrain maps. Squad leaders, collect your assignment packets." Kim, as leader of Squad 3, stepped forward with the other squad leaders. The data packet transferred to his wrist comp with a soft beep. "Colonel Durr and his officers will observe from the command center, though they may occasionally enter the field for closer observation," Commander Park explained. "Remember, this exercise determines 30% of your final evaluation scores." As the briefing continued, Kim studied the Zalarians from the corner of his eye. The smallest one was examining the cadets with all 4 eyes moving independently, seemingly taking in every detail. Something about their presence felt wrong. An hour later, the transport shuttle broke through the thin Martian atmosphere, carrying the cadets toward Deimos, Mars's smaller moon. The shuttlecraft shuddered slightly as it adjusted course. "Squad 3, huddle up," Kim called over the engine noise. His 7 squad members formed a circle in the shuttle's cramped quarters. "I've reviewed our starting position," he said, projecting a holographic map from his wrist comp. "We're dropping on the southern edge of the Quadrant 4 crater field. Rough terrain, limited visibility." Cadet Choi Min-ji, their tech specialist, frowned. "That's different from the usual drop zones. Maybe Commander Park wants to challenge us this year," suggested Cadet Han, the squad's medic. Kim zoomed in on their objective. "Our flag defense point is here, in this abandoned mining facility. Squad 5 will be hunting for it. Meanwhile, we need to locate and capture Squad 2's flag here, in the northern sector." The cadets discussed strategy as the shuttle approached Deimos. Through the viewport, Kim could see the cratered surface of the tiny moon growing larger. Deimos Training Ground had been established 15 years ago, repurposing an abandoned mining operation into the most sophisticated military training facility in the solar system. The shuttle touched down with a gentle bump. As the rear door lowered, creating a ramp to the surface, Kim felt the familiar rush of adrenaline that came before every exercise. Remember, Training weapons only deal simulated damage, he reminded his squad. Do you feel a sting? Your suit registers a hit. You follow damage protocols. The cadets filed out onto the dusty surface. Gravity here was barely noticeable, just enough to keep their boots on the ground thanks to the facility's artificial gravity generators. In the distance, the massive dome of the command center gleamed under the distant sun. "Comm check," Kim said into his helmet mic. His squad responded in sequence, voices clear in his earpiece. As they secured their starting position, Kim noticed an unmarked shuttle landing near the far ridge, not part of the standard exercise equipment. Through his scope, he could see figures disembarking, their movements precise and military. "Choi, scan that ridge," he ordered. Cadet Choi adjusted her helmet sensors, reading 8 signatures not matching cadet profiles. "Observers?" suggested Cadet Lee. Kim lowered his scope. "Maybe." The exercise commencement signal flashed across their helmet displays. As they moved out in formation toward their first objective, Kim couldn't shake a growing sense of unease. In the shadow of a crashed satellite that served as a terrain feature, he thought he saw something move, something that didn't match the profile of any cadet uniform. "Stay sharp," he told his squad. "I think this year's exercise might have some surprises." He had no idea just how right he was. Kim led his squad through the rocky terrain of Deimos, their boots barely making contact with the dusty surface in the low gravity. Each step sent small puffs of grey dust floating upward in slow motion. Through his helmet visor, he watched the tactical display showing his squad's positions, 7 green dots moving in perfect formation. "First objective is 2 kilometers. Northeast," he said. "We'll use that ridge for cover." The training ground stretched before them, a carefully designed battlefield scattered with obstacles, crashed spacecraft parts, abandoned mining equipment, and artificial structures designed to simulate urban combat zones. In the distance, the massive dome of the command center gleamed under the starlight, its observation windows dark and reflective. "I've got movement at our 3 o'clock, reported Cadet Choi, adjusting her sensor pack. 2 heat signatures. Probably. Squad 5 scouts." Kim signaled for the squad to take cover behind a fallen satellite dish. "Lee Han, flank right. Choi with me. Everyone else provide covering fire on my signal." The cadets moved with practiced precision, their training weapons at the ready. These special-issue blasters were designed to register hits without causing real damage. Just a mild electric sting and colored marks on the training suits to indicate wounds. Kim and Choi crept forward, using a line of boulders for cover. The terrain ahead dropped into a small crater that had been converted into a mock battlefield, complete with trenches and barriers. "I don't see anyone," whispered Choi, scanning with her enhanced visor. Kim was about to respond when his weapon suddenly hummed differently in his hands. The familiar low-power indicator light had changed from training blue to combat red. "Check your weapons," he ordered through the squad channel. "Something's wrong with—" His words were cut short as a blast struck the boulder next to his head, sending actual rock fragments flying. This wasn't the harmless sting of training weapons. The impact had carved a smoking crater in the stone. "Take cover," Kim shouted. "Live fire! Live fire!" Across the comm channel, confusion erupted. "My weapon's set to full power." Lee's voice crackled through. "I can't reset it." Kim ducked lower as another shot sizzled overhead. "Everyone check fire. Do not return fire until we figure out what's happening." Cadet Han's voice cut through the chatter. "Kim, my medical scanner's picking up non-human life signs approaching from the North Ridge. They're not cadets." The realization hit Kim like a punch to the gut. The unmarked shuttle, the Zalarian observers, the unusual starting positions. Something was very wrong with this exercise. "Squad, regroup at the mining tunnel entrance. Move fast, stay low." As they scrambled toward the abandoned tunnel entrance 50 meters away, the sky above them suddenly darkened. A sleek, angular spacecraft, with distinctive Zalarian markings, descended through the thin atmosphere, its engine wash kicking up a storm of dust. It wasn't one of the Academy vessels. This was a Zalarian military transport, the kind human intelligence reports had only managed to photograph from a distance. Inside the relative safety of the mining tunnel, Kim tried to contact command. "Cadet, Squad 3 to command center. We have an emergency situation. Unknown combatants on the field, weapons malfunction, request immediate instructor intervention. Only static answered him. Communications are being jammed, Choi said, running diagnostics on her wrist comp. And look at this, the training ground systems have been accessed by external protocols. Someone's overridden the safety measures. The Zalarians? Asked Lee. His normally calm voice edged with tension. Before Kim could answer, a mechanical whirring sound echoed through the tunnel. From the shadows emerged a hovering sphere about the size of a human head, its metallic surface covered in sensor arrays. It paused, scanning them with a red beam. "Combat drone," whispered Choi. "Zalarian scout model." The drone suddenly emitted a high-pitched tone. Kim reacted instantly, firing his weapon at the machine. To his surprise, the blaster discharged a real energy bolt that struck the drone dead center, sending it crashing to the ground in a shower of sparks. "It was transmitting our position," he explained, lowering his weapon. "Now they know where we are." "Who's they?" asked Han, checking his medical supplies nervously. A distant explosion answered his question, shaking dust from the tunnel ceiling. Through the entrance, they could see energy weapons fire arcing across the training ground. In the brief flashes of light, dark silhouettes moved with military precision, too tall to be human cadets. "The peace treaty," muttered Lee. "It was just a setup?" Kim made a quick decision. "Choi, can you access any of the training ground systems?" She worked her wrist comp frantically. "Most systems are locked out, but I can still tap into the sensor. Grid? It's showing 28 human signatures scattered across the training ground, that's our classmates, and 16 non-human signatures moving in organized search patterns. They're hunting us," Kim realized. "But why?" "A few dozen. Cadets against trained Zalarian soldiers. Testing our defenses, maybe?" suggested Han. "Or looking for weaknesses in our training." The tunnel trembled again as another explosion sounded closer this time. Through his helmet sensors, Kim could hear the distinctive high-pitched whine of Zalarian energy rifles. "We need to warn the other squads," Kim decided. "If communications are jammed, we'll have to do it in person. And we need to find out what happened to Commander Park and the instructors." Lee checked his weapon's charge. "So what's the plan?" "We're just cadets. We're not equipped to fight actual Zalarian soldiers." Kim looked at each member of his squad, seeing the fear in their eyes but also determination. None of them had signed up for real combat, but none of them were backing down either. "First we gather intelligence, then we link up with other squads. The command center should be our primary objective. If we can reach it, maybe we can restore communications or at least find out what's really happening." A scream echoed from somewhere outside, followed by weapons fire. Kim's jaw tightened as he checked his weapon's power level. "One more thing. From now on, we're not training anymore. This is real. Watch each other's backs and remember your combat protocols." As they prepared to move out, Han asked the question they were all thinking. What if this isn't just a training exercise gone wrong? What if it's something worse? Kim had no answer for that. Instead, he led his squad deeper into the tunnel, toward an auxiliary exit that would hopefully bypass the Zalarian search patterns. Above them, more alien ships descended through Deimos's thin atmosphere, their engines casting eerie blue light across the training ground that had just become a battlefield. The mining tunnels twisted beneath the surface of Deimos like the veins of some ancient beast. Kim led his squad through the darkness, their helmet lights casting long shadows against the rough-hewn walls. The air recyclers in their suits hummed steadily, a reassuring sound in the eerie silence. "Tunnel branches. Up ahead," Lee whispered, though their comm channel was secure. Something about their situation made them all speak in hushed tones. Kim consulted the partial map on his wrist comp. "Left fork should take us closer to Sector 3 where Squad 1 started. If they're still alive, they might be there." No one mentioned the if. It hung between them like a physical presence. They moved cautiously, weapons ready. The tunnel widened into what had once been a processing chamber for the mining operation. Ancient machinery sat dormant, covered in decades of space dust. Choi swept her sensors around the room. "Clear," she reported, "but I'm picking up vibrations from the level above us. Multiple contacts moving in formation." Kim signaled for everyone to take positions behind the mining equipment. "How many?" "At least 6. non-human signatures based on height and thermal patterns. A soft scraping sound came from one of the tunnel entrances on the far side of the chamber. The cadets froze, weapons aimed at the source. Kim held his breath as a figure appeared, not the tall, imposing shape of a Zalarian, but the familiar outline of a human in an academy training suit. "Hold fire," Kim ordered, then called out, "Identify." "Yourself." The figure jerked their weapon up, then lowered it slightly. "Cadet Choi, Squad 4. The voice was female, tense with fear. "Approach slowly," Kim said. As the cadet stepped into the light, he recognized Choi Minji's roommate from the academy. She wasn't alone. 4 more cadets from Squad 4 followed, her all looking rattled. Their squad leader was conspicuously absent. "Where's the rest of your squad?" Kim asked. The new arrival, Park Ji-hai, shook her head. "We were ambushed near the northern ridge. These new training weapons suddenly started firing actual energy bolts. Song took a direct hit. 2 more were captured by the Zalarians." Kim's squad exchanged grim looks. "What about instructor oversight? Any sign of Commander Park?" Communications went dead right after it started. Our squad leader tried to reach the command center on foot. He never came back. As Kim integrated the new cadets into their group, Han pulled him aside. "Kim, Cadet Park has a shoulder wound. The suit sealed it, but she needs medical attention soon." "Do what you can," Kim told him. "We need to keep moving, with their numbers." Now at 12 they continued through the tunnels. Kim had hoped to find more survivors, but he hadn't planned on having wounded to care for. Every decision now carried real weight, no longer the consequence-free choices of a training exercise. They emerged from the tunnels near what the training scenario had designated as Urban Zone 2, a mock-up of colony buildings used for close quarters combat training. In the distance, they could see the command center dome, its lower levels showing signs of damage. "Choi, any luck with communications?" Kim asked. She shook her head. "Still jammed. But I've been working on something." She pulled a small device from her pack, a standard-issue emergency beacon, but clearly modified. "I rewired this to broadcast on an old Earth frequency. Zalarians might not monitor it. If there are any human ships in orbit, they might pick it up." "Good thinking," Kim said. "Activate it." As Choi set up the beacon in a sheltered position, a high-pitched whine cut through the air. The cadets ducked instinctively as a Zalarian shuttle passed overhead, its searchlights sweeping the terrain. "They're getting closer," Lee observed. "We need a plan beyond just running." Kim nodded. "We need intelligence, and we need to find a way to contact help." A cadet from Squad 4, Yoon, spoke up. "The communications array on top of the command center. If we could reach it, we might be able to break through the jamming." "That's suicide," another cadet objected. "The place is probably swarming with Zalarians." Kim studied the distant structure. "Not necessarily. Roshi, what was your specialty at the academy?" Cadet Kang Roshi straightened slightly. "Electronic warfare, sir." "And Park, your demolitions, right?" She nodded, wincing slightly from her wound. "I'm starting to see a plan," Kim said. "But first, we need a distraction." He outlined his thinking. Using the tunnel system, they could approach different sectors of the training ground simultaneously. One team would create a diversion on the far side of the facility, drawing Zalarian forces away from the command center. A second team would attempt to reach the communications array. The third would try to locate and rescue other cadets. "It's risky," Lee said when Kim finished. "We're not soldiers. We're cadets." "We were cadets this morning," Kim corrected him. "Now we're whatever we need to be to survive." As they prepared to split into teams, a noise from above made them all freeze. Something was moving on the roof of the building they were sheltering behind. Kim signaled for silence, then pointed to Lee and Choi to check it out. They moved silently to the edge of the roof access ladder. Suddenly, a figure dropped from above, landing, almost soundlessly despite the low gravity. Before anyone could react, the figure had Cadet Yoon pinned, an energy blade at his throat. "Don't move," a harsh voice ordered through a translator. The Zalarian was smaller than others they'd seen, clearly a scout or special forces operative. Its 4 eyes moved independently, keeping watch in all directions. Kim raised his weapon slowly. "Release him." The alien's mouthparts clicked rapidly, untranslated. Communication, possibly to others nearby. "Humans, weak. training to die. I won't ask again, Kim said, his finger tightening on the trigger. What happened next occurred so fast that later, when they discussed it, each cadet remembered it differently. The Zalarian's body tensed, preparing to slice Yoon's throat. Kim fired. The alien moved with incredible speed, dodging the shot, but into the path of Han's blast from the side. As the Zalarian stumbled, Choi swept its legs from under it using a combat move they'd practiced countless times in academy training. The alien hit the ground hard. Before it could recover, 3 cadets had it pinned and disarmed. "Bind it," Kim ordered, "and check for tracking devices." As they secured their prisoner, Kim noticed something interesting. The alien's equipment was far more advanced than what they'd seen in intelligence briefings. Its light armor contained systems they'd only theorized about at the academy. "Why? Are you here?" Kim demanded. "Why attack cadets?" The Zalarian's translator crackled. "Test, evaluation. Humans must prove worthiness." "Worthiness for what?" The alien's 4 eyes fixed on Kim with unsettling intensity. "For survival." A chill ran through the group. This wasn't just a training exercise gone wrong. It was a test, one with consequences far beyond their training ground. "Change of plans," Kim announced. "We're going to find out exactly what's happening here. And then we're going to show these Zalarians exactly what human cadets are capable of." For the first time since the chaos began, he saw something new in the eyes of his fellow cadets. It wasn't just fear anymore. It was determination. The captured Zalarian sat against the wall, its 4 eyes blinking in an unsettling rhythm. Its blue skin had a slight shimmer under the dim emergency lighting. The cadets had secured its limbs with training cables, not designed for prisoners, but effective enough. "How you said this is a test," Kim said, crouching before the alien. "What kind of test involves attacking unarmed students?" The Zalarian's mouth parts clicked before its translator activated. "Not students. Warriors in training. Potential threats." Choi, who had been examining the alien's confiscated equipment, looked up. "Kim, this gear is military grade. Advanced recon tech. Weapons calibrated for non-Zalarian targets. They came prepared to fight humans specifically," Lee added, his voice tight. The alien's vertical eyes fixed on Kim. "Your species spreads like disease. 3 new colonies this solar cycle. Military academy producing more officers. Ships with weapons entering our buffer zones." Kim shook his head. "Those are scientific expeditions, and this academy. We're training for defense, not conquest. Words. Only actions prove truth." Kim stood up, moving away from their prisoner to confer with the others. The 12 cadets gathered in a tight circle, voices low. "I think I understand," Kim said. "The peace treaty was just to buy time. They're testing our capabilities, our responses." "By attacking cadets?" Park asked, wincing as Han adjusted the field dressing on her shoulder. "That makes no sense." "It does if you think like them," Kim replied. "Zalarians have a strict hierarchy. Everyone serves a purpose from birth. Their military trains from childhood, no separation between civilian and soldier. They probably see our academy as producing their equivalent of their warrior caste." Nikai nodded slowly. "So by defeating cadets, they prove human military infrastructure is weak, justifying breaking the treaty," Choi finished. The implications settled over the group like a heavy blanket. This wasn't just about their survival anymore. It was about preventing a potential war. "We stick to the plan," Kim decided, "but we adjust our approach." "Choi, what did you learn from the alien's equipment?" She held up a small device. "Short-range communicator. Their encryption is complex, but it operates on standard subspace principles. I might be able to use it to tap into their communications network." "Do it. Lee, take a team and create the diversion as planned. But instead of just making noise, I want you to make them think we're more numerous and better armed." Lee raised an eyebrow. "How?" "Use the training ground systems against them. The environmental controls, holographic targets, anything you can access. Make it chaotic." As the cadets prepared their equipment, Kim pulled Han aside. "How are our wounded?" "Park needs real medical attention soon. The others are holding up, but we're all running on stim packs and adrenaline. Sooner or later, exhaustion will become a factor." Kim nodded grimly. The Zalarians, with their 4 eyes, had better night vision and were likely used to longer operational periods without rest. Time was not on the human side. One more thing, Han added, lowering his voice. I've been monitoring their prisoner. Zalarian physiology is different from ours. They don't show stress the same way. But based on respiration and eye movement, I think it's afraid. Afraid? Of us? Possibly. Or of failing its mission. Kim considered this as he checked his weapon's charge. Fear could be a weapon. Perhaps their only advantage. The teams split up as planned. Lee took 5 cadets to create diversions across the training ground. Choi led a smaller team toward the command center to attempt communications restoration. Kim, Han, and 3 others would search for more survivors while monitoring the Zalarian prisoner. Before departing, Kim addressed everyone. Remember your training. We've spent 3 years preparing for situations where everything goes wrong. This is just a very realistic final exam. A few nervous laughs broke the tension. Stay in contact using Choi's modified frequencies. If you're captured, remember resistance protocols. They don't know what we know. Use that. As the teams dispersed through different tunnel exits, Kim approached their prisoner one last time. You'll be coming with us, he informed the alien. And you're going to help us understand exactly what's happening here. The Zalarian's eyes narrowed. Humans cannot comprehend Zalarian military doctrine. Kim smiled thinly. You'd be surprised what humans can comprehend when properly motivated. 2 hours later, Kim's team emerged from the tunnels near the training ground's northern perimeter. The artificial day-night cycle of the facility had shifted to night mode, casting the cratered landscape in deep shadows broken only by emergency lighting along designated paths. In the distance, explosions lit up the sky, Lee's team creating their diversions. Flashes of weapons fire indicated they'd encountered resistance. Choi's team should be approaching the command center from the east by now, Han said, checking his wrist comp. Their Zalarian prisoner, walking ahead with energy restraints binding its limbs, suddenly stopped, its head tilted as if listening. What is it? Kim demanded. Commander approaching, the alien said, sounding almost surprised. Hi, Commander Tull. Kim signaled for everyone to take cover behind a crashed shuttle mock-up used for rescue drills. Through his scope, he could see a Zalarian transport landing in a clearing 200 meters away. The ship's design was sleeker than the others they'd seen, clearly a command vessel. From the ship emerged 6 Zalarian guards in full battle armor, followed by a taller figure wearing an elaborate uniform with glowing insignia. The way the others deferred to this newcomer made its rank obvious. That must be their field commander, whispered Han. Kim studied the Zalarians through his scope. Their movements showed discipline, but also something else, frustration. The commander was gesturing sharply, clearly displeased. They expected this to be easy, Kim realized. A simple demonstration of superiority over untrained humans. Instead, they've got a real fight. The prisoner clicked softly. You cannot win. More ships coming. Full battle group. We don't need to win, Kim replied. We just need to survive long enough to expose what you're doing. He activated his comm unit on Choi's modified frequency. All teams report. Choi's voice came through with slight static. We've reached the lower level of the command center. Minimal resistance, working on accessing the communication array. Lee's report was punctuated by weapons fire. Heavy engagement in Sector 7. They've called in reinforcements, but they're confused by the hollow projectors. We've got them chasing ghosts. Kim smiled. The plan was working. The Zalarians, with their rigid military hierarchy, expected predictable responses based on clear chains of command. Instead, they were facing small adaptable teams operating independently. Exactly what Academy training emphasized. Continue as planned, Kim ordered. And remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves now. As they moved toward their next objective, the Zalarian prisoner watched Kim with what almost looked like curiosity in its 4 eyes. Humans fight differently, it observed. Not by doctrine. Why? Kim checked their perimeter before answering. Because we evolved as persistence hunters. When everything else fails, humans adapt. It's what we do best. The alien seemed to consider this as the sounds of battle echoed across the training ground that had become an unexpected proving ground for humanity's most fundamental strength. The air inside the command center's ventilation shaft was stale and metallic. Kim pulled himself forward on his elbows, the confined space making every movement difficult. Behind him, 5 other cadets followed in silent determination. Their faces were streaked with dirt and sweat, their training uniforms torn and scorched. From 3 days of continuous combat. "How much further?" whispered Han, his medical kit clanking softly against the metal shaft. 20 meters to the central hub, Kim replied, checking the schematic on his wrist comp. The small screen illuminated, his face in the darkness, highlighting the exhaustion in his eyes. The past 72 hours had transformed the cadets. Sleep had come in brief snatches, food was limited to emergency rations, and the constant threat of Zalarian patrols kept their nerves razor-sharp. Yet somehow they were still fighting, still adapting. Through the small vents along the shaft, Kim could see Zalarian soldiers moving below. Their blue skin appeared almost black in the command center's emergency lighting. They moved with military precision, but there was something different in their posture now. Tension, perhaps even frustration. "They still don't understand what's happening?" Lee whispered from behind Kim. "Look at them. All that technology, all that military power, and they can't handle a few cadets who refuse to surrender." Kim nodded. Their prisoner had provided valuable insights into Zalarian psychology before they'd left him secured in the tunnels. The aliens' rigid military doctrine was their greatest weakness. They couldn't comprehend the humans' seemingly chaotic tactics. The shaft opened into a wider junction. Kim paused, listening. From below came the distinctive clicking speech of Zalarians, a sound they'd all come to recognize without translation. "This is it," he said. "The command hub should be directly below us. According to Choi's intel, Commander, Turl will be coordinating from there." Park shifted her injured shoulder, wincing. Despite Han's treatment, the wound was clearly causing her pain. "What's the plan? We're outnumbered at least 3 to 1. "Quality over quantity," Kim replied with a grim smile. "We've got surprise on our side. And this." He patted the small device attached to his belt, a modified environmental control unit Choi had reconfigured before her team had taken up position at the communications array. "Everyone clear on their roles?" Kim asked. 5 determined faces nodded back at him. "Remember, timing is everything on my signal." Kim carefully removed the ventilation cover, revealing the command hub below. 6 Zalarian officers surrounded a holographic display showing the training ground. Red dots indicated their forces, while blue markers showed suspected human positions, most of them decoys created by Lee's team. In the center stood Commander Tool, taller than the others, his elaborate uniform marked with glowing insignia. All 4 of his eyes were fixed on the display, mandibles clicking rapidly as he issued orders. Kim took a deep breath, then activated his comm unit. "All teams, execute final phase. Now." Across the training ground, chaos erupted. The explosives Park had placed hours earlier detonated in sequence, targeting non-essential systems and creating spectacular diversions. At the same time, Choi's team activated the facility's environmental controls in unpredictable patterns. Gravity fluctuations, atmospheric pressure changes, lighting failures. The Zalarians in the command hub reacted immediately, their disciplined, calm fracturing as multiple crises demanded attention simultaneously. Kim seized the moment, dropping the small device into the room. It bounced once, then released a dense cloud of dark smoke. "Go," Kim ordered, dropping through the opening. The cadets descended into confusion. In the smoke-filled room, their helmet. Visors gave them an advantage, integrated filters and thermal imaging that the Zalarians lacked. Years of training in zero-visibility scenarios paid off as the cadets moved with precision through the chaos. Kim targeted Commander Tool directly, using the confusion to close distance. The tall Zalarian was shouting orders, trying to restore order as his officers stumbled blindly in the smoke. He didn't notice Kim's approach until the cadet was almost upon him. When Tool finally sensed the threat and whirled around, his 4 eyes widened in surprise at the human standing before him. The commander reached for his sidearm, but Kim was faster, training his weapon directly at the center of the alien's chest. "Order your forces to stand down," Kim demanded. "Now." Around them, the other cadets had secured the remaining officers, The smoke was beginning to clear, revealing the humans' successful ambush. Commander Tool's translator crackled. "Impossible! Cadets cannot defeat Zalarian elite forces." "Look around," Kim replied. "The impossible just happened." The commander's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of disbelief, according to their prisoner's information. "So you are students, not warriors." "We're humans," Kim corrected. "We adapt, we improvise, we overcome. Your mistake was thinking we would fight like Zalarians." At that moment, Choi's voice came through all their comms. "Communication array secured. Jamming field disabled. I've reached Academy Command. Reinforcements are on the way." The news spread quickly through all cadet teams. Cheers echoed across the various frequencies as the surviving humans realized their ordeal was nearly over. Commander Tool seemed to deflate, his tall frame slouching slightly. "How? 3 days against superior force. No sleep. Limited resources." "That's what you don't understand about humans," Kim explained, lowering his weapon slightly. "We've spent our entire evolutionary history surviving against the odds. It's what we do best." Through the command center's viewing port, Kim could see Academy ships entering Deimos's orbit, sleek, powerful vessels responding to Choi's distress. "Call." The sight filled him with relief, but also pride. They had held out long enough. They had survived. As the remaining Zalarian forces began to surrender across the training ground, Commander Tool made a formal gesture, placing his 4-fingered hands against his chest in what their prisoner had described as a sign of military respect. "The treaty," the commander said. "It will be honored." Kim nodded, understanding the deeper meaning. The test had backfired spectacularly. Instead of proving human weakness, it had demonstrated human resilience in the face of overwhelming odds. The peace treaty would stand, not because of political necessity, but because the Zalarians now understood the true cost of war with humanity. Hours later, as Academy medical ships treated the wounded cadets, Commander Park found Kim sitting, alone watching the Zalarian vessels depart. "You and your classmates did something extraordinary today," she said, sitting beside him. "You showed them something they didn't expect." Kim looked up at his instructor. "You knew, didn't you, about the test?" She shook her head. "Not entirely. We suspected the Zalarians might attempt something during the exercise, but nothing of this scale." She paused. "The Academy Command was monitoring the situation, ready to intervene if necessary, but you never made it necessary." "We were just applying what you taught us," Kim said. Commander Park smiled. "No, you were showing them what it means to be human." As the last Zalarian ship disappeared from view, Kim thought about everything they had endured. They had entered the exercise as cadets, but would return to Mars as something more. Not just survivors, but living proof of humanity's greatest strength, the ability to adapt and overcome, no matter the odds. The end.